For this craft, you will need
white cardstock or paper, shaving cream, food coloring, a pencil and pencil crayons, and scissors. You may also want a popsicle stick or stick of some sort, but that's not necessary. You're going to start by drawing an ice cream cone shape onto your cardstock. Make it nice and big so it takes up almost the entire page. Then you're going to cut it out. Then you'll color in the cone section of your cutout ice cream cone. Once you've colored it in, you're ready to add the shaving cream, and you're going to spray it onto this top ice cream scoop part. You can kind of spread it around a bit, but not really necessary because you're going to do that in a minute. You just want to get it all on there. And don't be afraid to use lots. Then you can add whatever color food coloring you would like. Then you're going to mix it all around. You can do this with your fingers if you like. It can be a really fun feeling to mix it in with your fingers, but be aware that the food coloring might stain your skin colorful for a little bit. It's food coloring, so it's not bad for you in any way. Your fingers will just be a little colored until it wears off. I'm going to use this popsicle stick to help me mix so that I don't stain my fingers. You could use even like a pencil or any kind of tool to help. I'm going to mix it all in and swirl in the colors. I'm going to mix a lot because I want it to be green, but you could mix only a little bit and get kind of swirls of different colors, which makes a really cool pattern as well. And then as you mix it, you can spread it out to make sure it gets all the way to the edges. And there you have your nice puffy paint ice cream cone. As you let it dry, the shaving cream will slowly start to kind of dry out and evaporate, and it won't be so puffy anymore, but it'll still leave its color staining, which will look really cool.
your final product should look something like this.
Or after it dries out, it may look more like this.
For this craft, you will need
Cardstock, a ball of yarn, pencil crayons, scissors, and tape. We're going to start by making a pom-pom out of our yarn, which will be our ice cream scoop. And to do this, what we're going to do is you're going to pinch the yarn between your thumb and your finger, and then you're going to wrap it around the rest of your fingers. And you're just going to keep wrapping. And you're going to wrap a whole bunch, and you might want to count how many times you go around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up. And you're going to wrap it a lot, probably anywhere from 80 plus times. The more wrapping you do, the thicker your pom-pom will be, the fuller it will be. The less wraps you do, it's just going to be floppier and looser, which is fine if that's what you want, but it sits nicely in the cone when it's nice and full. So I'm just going to keep wrapping until I'm somewhere around 80 or 100 loops. Then, once I've finished wrapping all of my loops, I actually ended up doing about 120 because I want mine to be really, really thick. Then I'm going to cut my string. To cut it, I'm going to want to gently slide it off of my hand, but make sure it still holds its shape. I'm going to cut the yarn. I'm going to make sure I'm still keeping it in this nice loop shape. And then I'm going to use my yarn to tie around the middle and the way that my hand was going through. So the hole goes through this way. That's the way my hand was going through, and I'm going to tie around the yarn that way. And I'm going to pull it really, 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 really tight. I want to make it as tight as I can. And then tie a couple knots to make sure it's really secured. Then I actually like to wrap around one more time and tie it up again just to make sure that it is super, super tight. I don't want any of my yarn coming out. I'm going to pull it nice and tight before I tie again. And then I'm going to cut that string as well. Now, right now, what I have isn't quite a pom-pom yet, but I'm going to make sure that I still have my two sides, so my string goes around this middle bit, and then I've got two kind of like arcs of yarn, and I'm actually going to stick my scissors right through one side, and then I'm going to cut all of that yarn in half. Just keep cutting until you're all the way across, so now you have a nice bunch of fluffy ends. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So again, I still have a hole above where that string was tied across. So I went in on one side. Now I'm going to go in on the other side. I'm going to slide it through all of those loops. And I'm just going to cut across the top. And then I'm going to kind of roll it out, puff it around so it's a nice round pom-pom. And see, this one is nice and full. You might notice that some parts are longer than others because they're different points of the loop, and so you can kind of go around and just trim the edges a bit if you want to make it a little more even. Careful, only trim just right around the edges so you don't, cut off too much yarn and shrink your pom-pom. You're just evening out the edges. Just cut the little bits. You've got like one or two strings that sticks out. I'm going to roll around and I still have my nice fluffy pom-pom. And I'm going to clear away all of these little yarn bits and make sure they get thrown in the trash. My next step is with the cardstock. And I am going to draw a cone pattern onto my cardstock. I'm actually going to color about the whole bottom half of my paper in this pattern, because then I'm going to roll it up and fold pieces over. So I'm just going to color the whole thing so that I'll know I've colored in enough of it. My next step is with the cardstock. And I am going to draw a cone pattern onto my cardstock. I'm actually going to color about the whole bottom half of my paper in this pattern, because then I'm going to roll it up and fold pieces over. So I'm just going to color the whole thing so that I'll know I've colored in enough of it. So I'm going to draw a line just about halfway. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm going to color in this whole bottom half like a cone. And then I'm going to cut off the portion of the paper that I did not color. From here, I'm going to make a cylinder. So I'm going to curve my paper around, white side on the inside, colored side on the outside. I'm going to curve it around. So I've made a cylinder, and then I'm just going to twist so that the bottom gets tighter, tighter, tighter. And I'm going to twist the other way from the top. So I'm going to pull this corner over the rest of the paper more. And pull the top open. Till I make a cone shape. And then I'm going to tape it. I'm going to want to tape down here first for sure to hold this in place, but then to help steady the cone and make sure that that tape doesn't rip off, I'm going to tape it in a few other places where it overlaps as well. And then I have my ice cream cone, and I can sit my pom-pom inside. If you don't like how this side comes up, you can trim it. I'm just going to cut around and even out the edge. Like that. And again, my pom-pom can still just sit on top. And then I have my nice yummy looking pom-pom ice cream cone.
Your final product should look something like this.
I hope you enjoyed making this week's ice cream crafts.
If you made one of the crafts shown in our tutorials, send us a picture at our email, misquahcrafts@gmail.com, and we can feature it in one of our videos.